filibuster time.
Looks good.
Call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone here this evening. We don't have a real long agenda, but you never know. So we'll get started. The first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Is Madison Hendrickson here? Madison, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Lisa. Thank you. All right, the next item is the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion we approve the agenda.
Second.
Made and second? Yes, sir.
A quick question. What happened to the alcohol early sales that we talked about last month,
Do you want to amend that and put it in here?
if we could?
Okay, I will put it in under C, old business. So, any other amendments? Okay, we have a motion.
I recommend to approve as amended.
Second.
And second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. A little competition there. That's been a long time for me, I tell you. It was years ago. Anyway, children will be children. Each month we recognize a student and a teacher from one of the local public schools, and this month it's Wakeland Elementary School. Excuse me, and the student led us in the Pledge of Allegiance, Madison LeBron Hendrickson. And would you care to come join me for a minute? I want to read what they had to say about you. Madison is a magnificent student who is tough, intelligent, with an incredible sense of humor. She exhibits leadership skills by helping others through peer tutoring. She also exhibits love by sharing with others. She serves on safety patrol for Carpool Daily. She hangs in there through all types of adverse weather as she assists with the safety dismissal of students. Her teachers state that she is an incredible student to teach, and they are honored to teach her daily. Wakeland is so proud of Madison, and so are we. You're welcome. Garen Barna. Need to bring your cheerleader back in.
She was brought to tears. She was so excited.
I got you. Mr. Barna has a genuine love for what he does. It shines through with both the children and the staff. Garen always has the best in mind for his students and even those who are not his students. He is kind and patient. He is always seeking to improve himself as an educator by learning from other educators, administrators, or from workshops. He has successfully taken on leadership role this year and yet has remained humble. He communicates very well with both students and his team. He is a very positive person who is organized and on top of things. It is no wonder that he was selected by his colleagues as Wakeland Elementary School's Teacher of the Year. Okay, we have a public hearing tonight that is a special use public hearing, which is quasi-judicial, meaning that anyone presenting evidence, and it is an evidentiary hearing, must come to the podium and be sworn in, and then I will call on those in favor, and if any are opposed, to come forward and present evidence. Being quasi-judicial, there are certain standards that have to be met, and Mr. Clark will tell you about those. But beyond that as well, that we're not allowed to discuss this with anyone until the final decision is made by this board. I will tell you that this is the first time that this had functioned this way, because before we referred the matter to the planning board turned around and made a recommendation to this board. The special use permit hearings are no longer going to function that way. They'll just be decision made by this board. So I think I pretty well covers it. Having said that, I'll open the public hearing and call on the planning director.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? State your name and address, please.
Michael Clark, 2021 Cotton Barton Court, Wendell, North Carolina. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the Board of Commissioners. The first item before you tonight, as the mayor indicated, is a special use permit request. As noted, that this is a quasi-judicial request. Therefore, in tonight's consideration of the testimony and documentation and evidence, please take it in consideration for the 6 findings of fact. I say 6 because this is kind of a hybrid. It does fall under the regulations and the ordinances amended back in October, but still does not fall into the Unified Development Ordinance, as that took effect last Wednesday. So there are 6 findings of fact. It does go through just the Board of Commissioners review. So as everything is being discussed tonight, be sure to take those into consideration. The specific request tonight is for 715 Shepherd School Road. The property owner has submitted the request to operate what's called a rooming house, as defined in our Code of Ordinances. Essentially, it is a dwelling that rents out rooms to individuals that are unrelated. The previous zoning was R10 residential. The revised zoning as of last Wednesday is downtown periphery and is slightly larger than a quarter acre. The applicant specifically is requesting to operate the rooming house with 7 units, a kitchen, a living area, and 8 parking spaces. And as part of the request, the developer has agreed to bring the nonconformities into the site with in current code compliance. Some of these include some parking requirements in terms of how the spaces are laid out and making sure that they meet the adequate dimensional standards. As a little bit of a background, the reason that this address may sound familiar to some of you is there was a similar special use permit approved in 2011. Specifically, it was for a group care home, and as part of that, there are particular requirements in our ordinance that would have to be met, one of which is it requires the applicant to obtain licensure from the state. That approval also did have a sunset date, which expired a couple years ago. The applicant, because of the configuration of how it was operated, never pursued the state licensing, and has been continuous operation since that time. A notice of violation was sent in September that they were operating without a permit, and then the applicant submitted the formal application in November for this request. As previously noted, this falls under the parameters of the Unified Development Ordinance, or does not fall under the parameters of the Unified Development Ordinance. It falls under the standards under the zoning code, which is no longer in effect. The subject property is on Shepherd School Road, located here. To provide a bit of understand the location, this is Zebulon Middle School. Town Hall is a little bit off the food line, and Roses is right here. The new zoning classification is downtown periphery. As I noted previously, the previous zoning classification was R10 residential. shows right here. The properties to the south and to the north, as well as to the west, previously as well as currently, do have the same zoning classification. And then across the street is mostly office and institutional. The applicant did provide a site plan, or a sketch plan, I should say, of how the parking is going to be configured on the site. There's still some things that we'll work with the applicant to bring this into final compliance, but the applicant has indicated that they will be willing to address the nonconformities on the site. All the required state statute requirements for a public hearing have been met, including posting a paper of general circulation, posting signage on the parcel. This is the subject structure. It is a single-family residential style dwelling. These are the adjacent parcels. And this is across the street. As I indicated previously, the applicant is required to meet 6 findings of fact. As outlined, staff has determined that they do meet standard number 2, 5, and 6 with the addition of the site plan. The Board of Commissioners should take in consideration all 6 when reviewing the application, as well as any testimony and evidence provided. Staff recommends accepting the staff report and the documentation as provided in tonight's packet into the record as evidence, and that standards 2, 5, and 6 have been met, and staff recommends accepting the presentation of the evidence and testimony as submitted today for consideration at the February 3rd, 2020 meeting. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Question from any board member?
So this property has been agreed to be brought up to code, and this has all been owned by the same person for this entire time? Back when the 2011 permit should have been applied
I believe
for?
that is correct, but I can't say definitively. I believe the applicant is present tonight and may be able to speak further on that.
Okay.
Excuse me, Board, Mr. Clark, just to make it clear, the evidence and testimony that you're talking about includes the staff report, is that correct?
That is correct.
Plus the testimony that you've just given now.
That is correct.
So that's what makes up the record. Just wanted to make sure that was clear, if it wasn't evident to you before.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from the board? Any question from an interested party? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll now ask for anyone wishing to present evidence in favor of the petition. Come forward.
I am the applicant. My name's Mike Burrows.
Excuse me, sir, you need to come up, so we record this,
Yeah, I'm coming up.
and you're also going to have to be sworn in.
Okay.
Bible? Yeah, we got it.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Go to the mic and state your name and address, please.
My name is Mike Burrows. My address is 5025 Upchurch Lane, Wake Forest, North Carolina. I thought I should say something before leaving. I've owned this property, I bought this property in 2009. It was a condemned property. It was a Federal National Mortgage Association. I purchased the property for $26,500 and put tens of thousands of dollars into it to improve the property, increased the town's tax base by close to $2,000. I've been operating this home in this fashion for since 2009, so I guess that's almost 10 years now. I provide affordable housing to female tenants only. They're a very nice but needy group of women that maintain the property, and I guess what I'm trying to say is a needed affordable housing. It's surrounded by, they just added 50 apartment units across the street, so it really has no impact. The units across the street are all duplexes. The parking situation, traffic situation is not an issue because only two out of the 7 rooms, which are usually not all full to begin with, but that have cars presently anyway. So I'd just like for the council or the councilmen or women to consider the need for the property and that it has it's in consequence to the surrounding properties in any matter other than it was improved substantially. Back in 2011, as was stated, the council did approve a group care home, and the only reason that did not happen is because the clients were in breach of their contract. So I would appreciate your approval. Any questions?
Question from the board?
Yes. So you were given notice back in September. How come it took you until November 6th to address the concern from the planning department?
Well, I immediately met with Mead Bradshaw, I think it is, and completed the application in detail. When I made improvements to the property, I had a building permit, which complied with all the building codes at the time. I do have contracts, rental contracts with all the existing tenants, and I would hate to see them displaced, but it's not my choice.
What is your plan to be able to comply and bring the building up to code?
It is to code. Now,
So
I
all
would
of the
have
codes have been-
I would have to know what is not to code, because when I made the improvements, I have the building permit, which was included in the application, so it's available to everyone.
And all of the planning department's recommendations have been addressed?
To my knowledge, they have.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Other questions from the board? Any questions from an interested party? An interested party is someone that would be directly affected by this piece of property.
So I just have one more question. This will be decided on, because this is very important to the tenants and myself, on February the 3rd. Will there be a decision made at that point?
That's what the plan is, yes, sir.
And will I be present?
If you want to.
Okay.
It's an open meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we don't do anything like that behind closed doors.
No, that's fine. I'm new to this.
No, I understand.
Because I operated this house for the past 10 years, and I think there was a disgruntled, mentally wacko tenant that was upset and causing problems. Dismissed her. I think she's the one that mentioned it. I had no idea, but ignorance is no, whatever that saying is.
I got you. All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, anyone else wishing to present evidence in favor? Excuse me. Anyone wishing to present evidence in opposition? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and the wishes of the board.
I make a motion, we table this until the February 3rd meeting, special use permit 2019-11.
Okay. Second. Made and second. Other comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we did not have anyone to do public comment, but for the record, I will tell you that we offer 3 minutes to people that want to come in and just talk to us, not necessarily about something on the agenda, but come in and just say something on their mind. So know that that is available. We did not have anyone sign up tonight. We have a restriction of a total of 15 minutes with no more than 3 minutes for any one individual. So in the future, if you feel you want to come in and get something off your chest, that's available. You do have to sign up, was it 10 minutes before the meeting? When people want to speak, they have to sign up 10 minutes before the...
That is correct.
10 minutes, okay. All right, that's just information for you for future reference. So we did not have anyone sign up tonight. Next, we have the consent agenda.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
Made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, nonprofit funding amendments.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. You'll recall a few weeks ago at the December, I think it was 19th or 18th work session, we discussed some changes, proposed changes to the nonprofit funding policy. I won't run through the whole PowerPoint again and go through the whole thing, but you'll see on page 3 of the resolution, we tried to incorporate your feedback that you gave us to add some of those issues that you were concerned about. In section 5 and 6, the grant reporting and monitoring, now each group will be required to present a report to the board at a regular meeting and shall provide a written report documenting funds received and spent. Failure to do so will make them ineligible for funding the next year. And then under exceptions, we put like 5 exceptions that they might not meet the goals of strategic plan, but allow some leniency for funding by the board. Any questions on those sections 5 and 6 that we added?
The only question that I have has to do with number 6. It says other nonprofit entities. And we have the Martin Luther King breakfast that we have routinely funded, and I hope we will continue to fund. So might suggest that you change that to not-for-profit entities in that sentence. So they can't be for-profit, but it would open that door for the Martin Luther King breakfast.
You said non-profit?
Not for profit.
Not for profit.
That's just my suggestion. I mean, there may be a better way to do it. I don't know. Anything else on the board? What's your pleasure?
I make a motion, we adopt Resolution 2020-07.
With the amendment?
If you make that change, would it cause other people to come? That's my only,
It could. It could, yes. But the thing is it covers us to cover Martin Luther MLK breakfast.
I'm sorry, Mayor Thing, I cannot hear you.
well, could the MLK be changed and be part of our budget instead of
Yes.
something like this?
Well, it could be, yes. The concern that I have personally with that is that if we move that out into the budget, I personally would like to see us lower the cap on how much we can give to nonprofits, and that was my concern. And also, I wanted to hear a report from Martin Luther King breakfast. I think it's a real asset to the town, so
I do
in no way
too.
want to put it in harm's way, but you could interpret not-for-profit either way. You really could. But it would open the door to keep funding Martin Luther King breakfast. So whatever y'all want to do.
I would rather keep it nonprofit like that. But we're going to do Martin Luther King, but I'm just afraid we're opening a can of worms. You know, it could be, I mean.
Well, I think yeah, and that's fine. I'm not bowback one way or the other on it, but I just wanted to be sure that we were covered with that.
Yeah.
I do think you could interpret that either way, and that's why I selected that wording, to be able to do that. And you can make people prove that they are not for profit by saying, give us your 501c3 as evidence.
Any thoughts from our legal staff? Either way?
The term nonprofit is typically considered a more formal term where someone actually goes in and files articles of incorporation of a nonprofit corporation with the North Carolina Secretary of State. Not-for-profit in the sense that the mayor has suggested would be more of a generic type of characterization as opposed to formal. So if you're looking to qualify these eligible organizations by making sure that they have a 501c3 or nonprofit status, they would have to show their articles of incorporation. And if they did not have 501c3 or nonprofit status, they would not be eligible for the charitable contributions. So just for an example, on the Martin Luther King, they could actually create a corporation for that organization if they wanted to do that. They could file nonprofit status. It's not particularly difficult, and they would be able to be eligible that way. I also heard some discussion from Commissioner Clark that possibly there would be an alternative funding source through the budget process as opposed to the nonprofit contribution process. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just trying to give you some information, trying to interpret that change in language that the mayor suggested.
If we put it in the budget, can we then still require them to come and give us a presentation?
Yes.
Well, then what's the problem? Let's do it. Let's put it in the budget so that we can always have that breakfast because it's important for our town.
Okay. Well, the way to do that is not tonight. The way to do that is to not change that wording.
Okay.
And adopt it the way it was presented. And that would take care of that. And then we can talk about a new cap or not, or whatever we want to do with it.
All right. Well, then I move to adopt Resolution 2020-07, the nonprofit funding policy as written.
You've already got a motion from me.
Well, then let's do,
It
I
was-
second it
I'm
then.
sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I'll take yours as a second.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, sorry. I
Okay.
didn't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jeff. I didn't. Got distracted, I guess. Okay. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Planning, ordinance 2020-38, annexation on Green Pace Road.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. This is the first of two decisions tonight regarding potential annexation. The first is for 201 Green Pace Road. The request is by Mr. Walker. The site is approximately 32 acres, is currently vacant, and was previously zoned heavy business, and the new zoning classification is heavy commercial. The applicant is proposing to put in a multi-parcel commercial center at this location. And is tonight seeking annexation. The planning board took this under consideration after the joint public hearing and unanimously recommended approval at the December 9th meeting. This is the parcel in question. As I noted, it's a little larger than 32 acres. Here is Arundel and the freeway, 264 and 64. It is currently located outside of our corporate limits, but within our ETJ. And the future land use category does call for this site to be non-residential, specifically mixed use. All the applicable state statutes in terms of requirements have been met for public hearing notification requirement. That public hearing was held on December 9th. This is the current condition of the site. And the adjacent parcels. Staff tonight is recommending approval of annexation 1901, noting that is consistent with the comprehensive plan and code of ordinances and any other official plan as adopted by the town of Zebulon, and also recommends adoption of ordinance 2020-38. And I'm available if you have any questions tonight.
Question? Okay. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion, we recommend the approval of AN 2019-01 based upon the consistency with the Town of Zebulon Comprehensive Plan, Zebulon Code of Ordinances, and any other official plan that is applicable.
I'm sorry, that needs to be ordinance 2020-38.
Correct, I'm sorry. Revise that to recommend approval of ordinance 2020-38 based upon the consistency with the Town of Zebulon Comprehensive Plan, Zebulon Code of Ordinances, and any other official plan that's applicable.
Second.
Second?
Well, I want to ask a question. If it's 2020-38, why is it 2019-01 on our agenda?
The application number for processing is annexation 2019-01. It was the first annexation request in the 2019 fiscal year, but because of details and with paperwork and making sure we had everything for a full packet, it's not being presented till now. With all requests for annexation, it does require it be adopted by ordinance, and the ordinance runs in chronological order as presented to the board.
Okay, well, that's fine. I just wanted to be sure while we were doing that. Okay, any questions, other comments? All in favor? And motion carries. Thank you. 2020-39.
This is the second of the two annexations for 704 Pierce's Road. Specifically, it is a little larger than 3/4 of an acre. It is a single-family residential parcel. The previous zoning was R20. The new zoning, as of last Wednesday, is R2 residential suburban. The property owner is asking for annexation to allow for the connection into municipal water and sewer services, which run adjacent to the parcel currently. The planning board was here for the joint public hearing and unanimously recommended approval at their December 9th meeting. This is the location of the parcel. It is located within our ETJ and is surrounded by other residential parcels. And here's a map that shows the darker area is areas that are currently annexed, and one thing it does not show is there are portions of the town that are annexed north of here, so it would not be outside of our general service areas, as vehicles for services do travel past this location already. The future land use calls for this site to be mixed density residential. As proposed, this is a very low intensity use and activity for that particular future land use classification. And this is the current site, as well as the adjacent properties. And as previously noted, the applicant is requesting annexation to allow connection into the municipal system. And the green line running behind the parcel is the existing sewer line, and there's a manhole right there at their back property line, which will allow them to connect in without too much difficulty. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of application 2019-03 based on the consistency of the comprehensive plan, the code of ordinances, any other applicable plans is adopted by the town of Zebulon, and staff recommends adoption of ordinance 2020-39. Once again, I'm available if you have any questions.
Questions? Okay. What you want to do?
I move we approve the AN 2019 or 2019-03 based upon the consistency.
2020-39, right?
2020-30.
Hold on, I was going to wrap up with adoption of the ordinance. Let me start again. I move we approve AN 2019-03 based upon the consistency with the Town of Zebulon Comprehensive Plan, Zebulon Code of Ordinances, and any other official plan that is applicable, and this is reference ordinance 2020-39.
Second.
Motion made, second. Other comments or discussion? All in favor? And motion carries. Thank you. Item C, alcohol sales. We discussed this, I know, at the work session. Larry?
Yeah, basically, this was the Wake County ordinance passed several years ago that allows alcohol sales 2 hours early on Sunday, 10 a.m. versus the current noon. So we would just be approving the sale of alcohol 2 hours earlier on Sundays. And I think all the area towns have adopted it, Wake County's adopted it, and I believe we're kind of just the outlier in Wake County right now.
Joe, is there some reason it was not on this agenda?
We just, I mean, unlike the nonprofit policy, we brought a policy for you. We did not bring an ordinance for you all to consider. We just wanted to see if you all were interested in it before we developed the ordinance. So the ordinance couldn't come before you until at least February. But we don't have an ordinance prepared for you to review. In addition to that, whenever we bring an ordinance before you, we'll attach with it a fiscal analysis and an operational analysis, just to let you know if it's going to have an impact on your staffing and what kind of impact it will have on your revenue. So we haven't prepared an ordinance. We just wanted to get at least a majority understanding, at least an understanding from a majority of you all that you were interested. We've got that. We'll have an ordinance ready for you at your February meeting.
Okay,
Excellent.
thank you. Any other questions from board members on that? Okay, thank you. All right. We have board appointments. Get to the right page here. Okay, I think the first one is, I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of lost in my own thing. Okay, we have 5 people that have expressed an interest in filling a vacant position on the planning board. So what we'll do is give each of those a 3-minute opportunity to come and speak. If you want to take 3, fine. If you don't, fine. Just don't take over 3, please. We have the lights up here to help you with that. But we would like to hear from those people as to why they're interested in serving and what they think they bring to the board. We have their written applications. So I'll start with Orlando Miles. Is she here? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Good evening, Mayor, and to the board. Thank you for having me. As you stated, my name is Orlando Michelle Miles. I promise to keep it short and sweet. Those who know me know I can speak lengthily about things that I'm passionate about. So as I mentioned, I'm Michelle. I'm a lifetime happy resident of Zebulon, North Carolina. I'm also the blessed mother of 7 wonderful children: Cora 24, Carol 20, Timothy 18, Chelsea 13, Connor 10, Chloe 8, and Chandler's 5. I'm sorry, you guys, I'm nervous. And soon to be grandmother of 1. I currently work for Wake County Public School System. I'm also, in my community, I'm also a part of the Martin Luther King Choir. I also participate in the Go the Extra Mile ministry, and I'm 1/3 of the Miles Sisters. I'm also extremely blessed and honored to say that my parents, my grandmother, and majority of my siblings, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, great-nieces, great-nephews, all live and thrive in Zebulon. My heart has always been in the town of the friendly people. My bloodline runs deep and my roots in this history, in the town's history. Generation upon generation of my family have all been actively involved in contributing to the growth of this area. As a child, I witnessed firsthand how the infrastructure, the business, the opportunities, the schools, the upkeeping of the town, the people, the community feel available to my family, all have positively and directly impacted my life. I watched this town as I grew up in certain places. I watched this town grow in certain places and shrink in others, and how these changes have affected my families and friends. I know the value of properly planning a future to ensure successful outcome. My reason for wanting to be on this planning board is to directly impact the magic that makes Zebulon, Zebulon in every aspect. Economically, socially, and spiritually, all of it, while maintaining the sweet honey that keeps this town, the town of friendly people. Zebulon has the potential to have it all, a rich past, a prosperous present, and a promising future. I know the people of Zebulon, and not just because I'm related to many of them, but I grew up with many and have met many residents, both old and new, through church events, through work, by attending school functions with my immediate and extended family, by participating in town events, the camps, the parades, the meetings, the Pee Wee Mighty Mite football team. As the old saying goes, I never met a stranger. My finger is pretty much on the pulse of the people who makes the bustling little town that an alluring place for people and businesses to want to come.
Excuse me, ma'am, you need to wrap up. You're out of time.
All right. And for that reason, I believe I am the right person for this board.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions of her? Okay, all right. Dale Beck?
Dale Beck, 605 Stratford Drive, Zebulon. This is kind of a little bit of different perspective for me sitting on this end instead of sitting on that end. But people ask, well, why are you interested in being on the planning board? Well, I have many years of experience with the town of Zebulon on the town board, also a couple of years on the planning board. I still think that I've got a lot of interest in the town. I got a lot of interest in the planning. It's an extremely important time in our town for us, the growth, the smart growth, making Zebulon the friendly town that we've always been. It's an important and many important decisions that are going to be needed to be made at this time. So therefore, I'm just offering my services and my experience, and that hope that as Zebulon grows, we can be a place that all of us be proud of. And I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Any questions? Thank you. David Lowry?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. Thank you for your consideration of this appointment to the Planning Board. As stated, my name is David Lowry, and I live in Weaver's Pond. My wife, Michelle, and I, along with our two children, Nathaniel and Annabelle, have planted our roots in Zebulon and are very happy with our decision. We were looking for a great place to raise our children, and I believe we found what we were looking for. I'm ready and willing to do my part to serve our community and the people of Zebulon. My background in management has developed my leadership skills, and my experience in the architectural, engineering, and construction industry have given me the skills needed to read and interpret code and code compliance, which will help me with this appointment. I use critical thinking skills and logic when looking at a situation or an issue. I'm forward thinking and try to look at things from many different perspectives. I always look for what would be in the greater good for all stakeholders. I strongly believe in fiscal responsibility and smart growth. My main goal as a member on the planning board for the town of Zebulon is to preserve Zebulon as a great place to raise a family while helping the town grow responsibly. I will do my best to keep this in mind as I look at future growth opportunities. I am excited for the opportunity to be of service to the town of friendly people. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, David. Any questions? Thank you, sir. Michael Germano.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come here before you tonight and express my interest in joining the planning board. As stated, my name is Michael Germano. I've been a resident of Zebulon for about a year now. And as a local business owner, I'm very interested in the growth of this town. I would like to see an attractive and vibrant downtown corridor. And so as an architect, I can bring a different perspective to the board. I have experience working with developers and understand the challenges that they face and we can overcome together. Additionally, I would like to help establish a greater connection to our surrounding towns and communities. I see as the new comprehensive planning process is set to begin, I think it would give us a great opportunity to position ourselves for the future and help solidify our Main Street America designation furthermore. And so with that, I thank you for your time. I look forward to growing with Zebulon, and thank you for considering my interest on the board.
Thank you, sir. Question? Thank you. Eric House.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Board of Commissioners. This is my first time actually attending a meeting of any sort, so I'm just kind of getting my feet wet, so to speak. Might actually be more suited for Parks and Rec rather than planning, but I figure I'd go ahead and take my time while I have here. I grew up in Knightdale, North Carolina, as my name is Eric House, Knightdale, North Carolina, and I basically grew up 10 minutes from my grandparents that lived here in Zebulon. Got baptized here in Zebulon at Zebulon Baptist Church. And growing up in Knightdale, I really took a lot of pride in T-ball, taking other public sporting events and things of that growing up. In fourth grade, I became one of many kids, I think, that suffer from bullying. And part of what I did growing up was I started to take martial arts instead of baseball. I gave up what they consider a good baseball career to learn self-defense and to better be more confident and be able to take care of myself if the need was to arise. For me, right now, I live in Zebulon. I've been living here since '03, but growing up not far from Zebulon, my grandparents lived here. I've visited every so often. I'm a graphic designer by trade, 20 years of graphic design experience. May or may not do too much for Parks and Recreation, but I do have a passion for kids, have a passion for sporting events and trying to figure out what that can do for this town. I am very new to any kind of public service, but it is something I'm interested in learning more about and finding a way to create my own niche, so to speak. I just really want to thank y'all very much for your time, and I look forward to hearing what y'all have to say.
Thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, sir. No questions, I assume? Okay. Joe, did you want Michael to give us some insights?
This might help the commissioners in their thinking and in their decision. Staff will bring you a text amendment in February where we will recommend you disband the Board of Adjustment and have the Planning Board serve the traditional Board of Adjustment duties. And so just something for you to think about as you factor into consideration when you decide to make an appointment tonight or maybe table it to another meeting. And Michael is available to talk in greater detail about the text amendments as well as what's on the Planning Board's plate right now.
Mr. Mayor, essentially the text amendment in question that's going to be coming before you for the February joint public hearing is an amendment to transfer the duties of the Board of Adjustment to the Planning Board. This is a step that several municipalities in North Carolina have taken due to the Board of Adjustment typically meets us on such an infrequent basis where sometimes it can get very difficult to get a quorum, being that it's not a standing meeting. We were fortunate in the past to have several members that were very passionate about making sure that they had that particular Thursday slot locked down. But this will free up the opportunity for those individuals to serve in other manners, as well as keep a land use review board essentially comprised of individuals that meet on a regular basis to consider these items. One of the things that with the Board of Adjustment going to the Planning Board versus the Board of Commissioners is it creates a separation of decision-making bodies, being that somebody would have the ability to appeal a particular decision to a body that would otherwise not be making that particular decision, whereas the planning board is a recommendation body that makes the recommendation to the Board of Adjustments or to the Board of Commissioners for text amendments, site plan approvals, as well as plan developments, rezonings, and then the other parameters as spelled out in the UDO.
Okay. Is there any urgency of items coming before the planning board?
For the next 2 months through March, there's nothing of great importance for the planning board. They will have to make a recommendation on all text amendments, including the text amendment to transfer the powers of the Board of Adjustment to the planning board. There have been several developers that have reached out for inquiries regarding development projects. But if we were to do something like this, this would be the perfect time to do it, being that the development community is still coming to understand all of the new requirements and changing requirements as part of the Unified Development Ordinance. Essentially, they're all doing their homework with anticipation on submitting applications. I'm thinking the earliest that you'll see an application come before you is April.
Okay. I just, I don't know what this board's going to want to do, but I wanted them to understand if it would hamper that board at this time. So, okay. Thank you. All right. What y'all want to do? Move on it? Table it? Do what?
On the appointments, let's vote.
Okay. Then we need a motion for a person, one of the five.
I make a motion to place David Lowry on the planning board, and, I guess that would be it.
Okay. We have a motion for David Lowry. Is there a second?
Another motion?
Is there a second for the motion?
I have a motion.
Okay, well, hearing none, then the motion fails, and now the floor is open for new motions.
I'm motion for Michael Germain.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for Michael Germano. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other comments or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And the motion passes 4-1. Thank you. All right, Mr. Germano, congratulations. I hope you know what you're getting into. But it's very rewarding, and we welcome you. Okay, and look, thanks for all the others with your interest. Don't quit just because you didn't get appointed tonight. There's plenty to do, and we welcome citizen help and input. So just keep knocking on our doors. Okay. All right, we also then have an appointment to the Recreation Board, and the person that's in your agenda, Damon Dampy, withdrew, believing that there was not enough time to do a good job right now for him. And we have one applicant, Garrett Underhill. Is Mr. Underhill here? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Board of Commissioners. My name is Garrett Underhill. I am 28 years old. I have been in this community for several years. I've lived in this community for 2 years right now with my wife, Ann Underhill. I've been on the Parks and Rec. I've been an employee with the Parks and Rec for 3 years previously while I was in college. Right now, I work for a home builder in purchasing in Raleigh. I just love this community, what it offers with Parks and Rec, just the beautiful parks that we have at Little River and right down the street from my house, and even ones all over this community. There's just so much growth that is happening here, and I want to see that growth continue for our children, our youth, even on into our senior adults. Things that happen at the community center from a day in to day out basis has tremendously grown by the time I was there and the time that I left. So I just want to help the community keep on growing, and I hope that y'all take into consideration for me to be on this board, and thank you for your time.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Once again, what you want?
Motion that we accept Garrett Underhill.
Underhill. There's
Parks and Recs.
Second.
Second, okay, thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Underhill, for being willing to serve, and we appreciate it and hope you enjoy it. Okay, very good. Okay, now we're down to board comments. Shannon, I'll start with you tonight.
I would really like to thank everyone that came and applied for my previous position on the planning board. That is so awesome that we have people in our community that are willing to step up to the plate and work for the betterment of our town. So I'm real excited about that. Thank you.
Okay, Glenn?
And just to piggyback off of that, there are other positions that citizens can be involved in, and I would hope you take advantage of those also.
Okay. Beverly?
It's good to see a big crowd here to start the new year off.
Annie?
I'd like to say Happy New Year to all that came out tonight, and come back again to be with us.
Likewise, like the crowd tonight and the involvement, and I actually have a couple ideas about a couple other committees the town may be able to help, so maybe a few surprises down the road. We are growing. Things are going to happen a whole lot faster here than they have been.
Okay. Joe, manager's report?
Let me recognize Bobby Fitz.
I just have one budget transfer to report. This is allowed as through the budget ordinance, transferring under $5,000 between operating lines. Parks and Recreation, transferring $1,500 from equipment maintenance to vehicle maintenance. And that's all. Thank you.
Joe, anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Well, we have a closed session as permitted by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A5 for the purpose of property acquisition. So I'll ask for a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion, we go in closed session.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Thank you all for coming. We're going to go over in the adjacent room.